Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tiger Extreme and welcome back to EVE Online. It's been a while since I put out a tutorial for you guys, but I am back and I am ready to go. And today we are going to be talking about manufacturing in EVE Online. Or if you're coming from another MMO, then you might know this process as crafting. But we're not gonna call it crafting, we're gonna call it manufacturing, as any EVE player would. Alright, so let's jump into this real quick. To start manufacturing anything in EVE Online, you need a blueprint. You need a blueprint for anything that you want to build. And there are blueprints available for almost every item in the game. Not all of them, but most of them. So for demonstration purposes, I've gotten these two blueprints over here to demonstrate some stuff. So let's just right click on the blueprint, show info, and I'll take you through the information window, which is really, most of this process is really self-explanatory, but I'll guide you through it anyway. So this is the show info window, or the information window for Depleted Uranium S, which is an ammo type, projectile ammo type, as you can see right here. So from top to bottom, let's go through this and I'll explain all the things for you. First of all, it will tell you right here, where it says original, if it's a blueprint original or a blueprint copy. That's a definite distinction. You can recognize a blueprint copy by looking over here. The solid blue one is an original, and this one with the little light bluish faded background, that's a copy. That's how you can distinguish the two blueprint types. And the difference between an original and a blueprint is that an original blueprint, or did I say an original and a blueprint? I meant an original and a copy, of course. The difference between an original and a copy is that an original blueprint has an infinite number of runs. It can be used for an infinite number of times. Whereas a blueprint copy, which you will see if I open it for a moment, you will see that the copy has only one run remaining. And this one has infinite runs. So a copy is a limited use item. You can only use it for as many times as it has runs, and that differs per blueprint. And a original has an infinite number of runs. Below that you will see the two research bars. One for material efficiency, which determines how efficient the blueprint is, and in other words that just means that it decreases the input material that is required to build anything. So the higher this number, it goes up to 10%. The higher this number, the better it is. And time efficiency, that's the same thing for time. It decreases the time it takes to build the item for every run that it does. And I'll get to how you actually research these things in a little bit. Let's just move on down. We have these the 5 little tabs over here, which give you information on the different things you can do with the blueprint. We'll start with the manufacturing tab, which is the tab that we are most interested in, of course. And then we have the... Why does it say copying? I don't want to be copying. We'll start with manufacturing. So the first thing it will tell you is how long it takes for a single run to complete with this blueprint. And since the time efficiency is at 0% for this blueprint, the time per run is 5 minutes. If I were to train this up to 20%, because this one goes up to 20, this one goes up to 10, this time would go down and it would be quicker to build this item, and thus, you'd be more efficient at doing all your stuff. Below that you can see the outcome. What does the blueprint actually build? What do you get from building this blueprint? It's mostly pretty obvious. In this case it gives you 100 times depleted uranium S, so that would be 100 rounds. And if you were to build multiple runs of this, say if I were to use 10 runs of this, it would take 50 minutes to build, and it would give you 1000 units of depleted uranium S. That's how these numbers work. It multiplies by the number of runs. Below that we have the skill requirements, which can be different depending on the blueprint and the item you want to build. Most Tech 1 blueprints have really basic skill requirements, mostly just requiring industry level 1. If you're gonna go and build all the Tech 2 items or Tech 3 items or stuff like that, or really big capital ships, then these skill requirements will be a little bit lengthier. And finally, of course, you have the required input materials, which will tell you all the materials you need to build this item. In the case for Tech 1 items, that is mostly just minerals, but they are sorted to the type of material that you will need. And in the case of Tech 1, it's just minerals, but it can be a whole list of all other types of materials, such as... I'll open up the Viator real quick so you can see the difference. For example, this is a Tech 2 ship. So it has completely different stats and it has a much longer skill list, as you can see right here. And it also has a more complicated material list that exists of components, minerals, planetary materials and items. So yeah, that's kind of the difference, and this can be quite a long list of all kinds of stuff, depending on the complexity of the item. Let's go back to the depleted uranium. Oh, I didn't want to do that just yet. We'll get to that in a minute. Alright, so yeah, that's the materials covered, and then at the end of the list you have this useful button that allows you to buy all the materials that you need for this blueprint in one go. So if I were to press that button, I would get this window, and I can tell the market that I need the materials for, well, as many runs as you want to build. So say I want 10 runs of this ammunition, I would enter 10, and it would give me the material requirements to build 10 runs of this blueprint, and I can buy them off the market straight away. Or you can choose any other station in the system. Of course, this is very useful if you want to build something really quickly, but keep in mind that this will take the orders on the market as they are standing right now. So you might not actually be getting the right price or the best price. If you're trying to manufacture for a profit, I would strongly recommend doing your own math and working out your own profit margin, and that would require Excel and stuff like that. We'll get to that at the end of this tutorial. But if you want to just, grab all the materials you need and you don't really care about price margins and stuff like that, then just using this window is a good way to do that. For now, I'll just buy the materials for one run, so I can demonstrate the build process in a moment. So let's just buy this. It should have all the materials already in the station, so I'm gonna buy that, and it will appear in my hangar. And if you go to my wallet, we can see that it should have detracted it, as it did indeed. All right. We can close that. So now I have the materials to use this blueprint for a single run to build 100 units of depleted uranium S. So let's have a look at the other tabs real quick. The other tabs basically facilitate the research for these two bars and to make copies of this blueprint. So you have the material efficiency tab, which just like the manufacturing tab tells you how long it takes to run. It tells you the outcome, so that it's an extra percentage to this meter here. No skill requirements. Same goes for time efficiency research. It's all just very straightforward. The first run takes 1 minute and 45 seconds, and for every level in this research, the time will roughly double, I guess. Because if I were to train this up to 11%, if that were possible, then it would take 1 day, 17 hours. 11 minutes and 40 seconds. Finally, we have the copying tab, which allows you to make a copy of this original blueprint. And again, it will tell you how long it takes to make a single copy, how many runs are allowed to be on a single copy. In this case, a copy of the Depleted Uranium S blueprint will be allowed to have at most 600 runs. It will tell you the outcome, and this is basically, again, pretty straightforward. It tells you everything you need to know. So now, you might want to know where to get the blueprints from. And for Tech 1 items, you can simply get them off the market. We can, I was looking for the Keepstar blueprint. If you just enter any item here, like say for instance you want to build, what's a fun ship? You want to build, what's the name of that ship again? Rifter. Say you want to build a Rifter. Then under blueprint, you can also search for Rifter blueprint to be more specific. You can find a Rifter blueprint and you can find that on various places on the market. You won't be able to find them everywhere because the blueprints are tied to their respective factions. For example, the Rifter is a Minmatar frigate, so you won't be able to find it in Galente stations, which is where I am right now. Which means we'll have to find a Galente ship, like the Tristan blueprint. And you'll see a whole list of available blueprints which you can buy. Do keep in mind that the blueprint originals are often more expensive than the item they produce, because they're meant to be, you know, like a repeat thing. You're supposed to be building a lot of them from a single blueprint. So it will carry, for some items, a hefty price tag, and others maybe not so much. It kind of depends. But yeah, you can find all the blueprints that you want in the market system as long as you are looking in the right place. So if you want Caldari ships or Caldari equipment, you need to be in a Caldari station, Caldari space, whatever. It's pretty straightforward. So that does it for blueprint originals. But we also, like mentioned previously, we have copies. And copies can't be found or sold on the market. You can only find blueprints, and you can only find blueprints originals for Tech 1 items. To find blueprint copies for Tech 1, Tech 2 or Tech 3, you want to look into the contract system, which is right here. I don't think this is actually in the sidebar by default, so you will be able to find it under this menu here, and then go into business and then into contracts. So let's say I want to find the Viator blueprint again. We can look it up. When we set the location to all regions, I wouldn't recommend doing this normally. You might want to set it to the current region or the current system, whatever. For demonstration purposes, I'll put it to all regions now. You can hit search, and we get a list of people who are willing to sell a copy of this blueprint that we're looking for. And keep in mind that these blueprints can have all kinds of different statistics, and you can't change them through research after the fact, so make sure you buy a blueprint with good statistics on them. For example, we can view this contract, and it has I can barely read that. It has a single run material efficiency of 5 and a time efficiency of 10. Now maybe if we go looking for a more expensive blueprint in this list, we may find one that has different statistics. For example, this one has material efficiency 3, it has 3 runs, and it has a time efficiency of 12, but it also sells for 25 million. So you need to have a good look at all these different offers to see if there's one that you can relate to, that you want to, that has all the stats that you want for a good price. But yeah, you can use the contract system to find any copy that you want. If you really are in trouble finding one, just head to JITA, and JITA will, solve all your problems, because JITA has everything ever made. Alright, with that out of the way, now I'm gonna show you the industry window, which I accidentally opened like before. You can find it, I don't know if it's default in the sidebar. If it's not, you can find it in the business. Yes, business, industry. Now we'll open up this nifty little window. Let me just resize that. And this window will allow you to do anything industry related that you might ever want to do. So to install a blueprint, you can just drag it in there, or you can right click on it, use blueprint, or you can double click it, whatever tickles your fancy. I'm just going to drag it in here and it will install the blueprint. I'm going to click on the manufacturing tab and it will give you this little nifty little overview of what you want to do or what you need to build this blueprint. So as you can see, it has the list of materials here on the left side. It will be all blue if you have all the mineral requirements in station that you want to build at. And this window is probably one of the most informative windows that you will find in EVE Online. I think they did a really good job at making this window really user-friendly, and I really hope that CCP is gonna expand this type of interface to more aspects of EVE Online, because it will make the entire game much easier. But for now we just have the industry window to work with. So let me just take you through some of the nice little features. First of all, you can show if you want the total required or just show the total missing. And in this case, if I were to put the job runs at 50, it would show how much is missing, I think. Yeah. Right now it shows that I'm missing 88 units, I'm missing 5,203 units, blah blah blah. If I change this to total required, it will change to the total numbers that are required for this. I think show missing is a lot more easy to work with, but it depends on your workflow, I guess. Yeah, the facility, that's something I'll get into later. You need an input location for the material. That can be an item hanger, or it can be containers in an item hanger if you have any. Same for the output location. That can also be a container, except for ships. The nice thing about this window is also that you can preview any configuration that you want. For example, the blueprint originally it doesn't have any research into time efficiency. But say I want to preview what the effect would be if I did have any research into time efficiency. I can just click this, put it to level 15, for example, and it will instantly reflect on the job duration and any other things that it affects, what the effects would be, which is really nice. I can do the same thing with the material efficiency. If I were to lower this back to like 2, keep an eye on the materials on the left, see what happens there. If I change this to 2, it will change the material input directly, and you can preview anything you want from within this window, even for blueprints that you actually don't own. So for example, let me close this. If we go back to the regional market, to the Tristan blueprint, and we right click on that, we can. I don't own this blueprint like in this station. I only have these 2 blueprints that you can see in the right hand side. If I can click on view in industry from the market window, and it will open this blueprint, and it will be like have lines through it because to indicate that I don't actually own it. But I can actually do all these things. I can input all these values to see how it would affect the build. what it would cost, how much materials would be required to build it, how many runs it can have, so all that kind of stuff. You can preview everything you want in this window. So let's go back to the depleted uranium. You can also change the facility. Not every facility has like manufacturing lines. Most of them do, but not everyone. And down here in the facilities tab, you can find a facility that has manufacturing or research or copying. So you can preview what the effect would be if you were to manufacture it in a different station or in a different structure. And that sort of stuff is important also because the total job cost is a factor, is mostly like a percentage or 10%, between 0 and 10% sort of, I think, of the base item value. So for example, if we were to open the Viator blueprint, you can see that the total job cost is like 1.1% of the 67 million ISK value of the ship when it's done. On top of that comes a 10% facility tax that can be determined by the owner of the station, which in turn comes to a total of 819,000 ISK just to install this job. And the more expensive the item, the more it will cost. And the system cost index that you can see sitting at 1.1% right there is a factor of how busy the station is in terms of industry. So the more people doing industry in this system, the more expensive it will be to install a job in this system. What else is there to preview? Let's go back to the depleted uranium blueprint. Down here you can see the required skills. If you don't have the skills to build this item, it will be reddish and stuff, and it will tell you what you're missing just by hovering over it. The job duration is affected by a number of skills. In this case, it will tell you exactly what skills are affecting the time, the job duration. Yeah, you can just, if you're like looking for information in this window, you can basically just hover over anything and it will tell you all kinds of details, which is really nice. CCP, please give us more stuff like this. So let's put this back to 1. So everything turns blue, everything is accounted for. You can see the total estimated price of the final product, I think. Is that the final product? No. No, that's the total estimated price of all the materials that the blueprint consumes. So once you've got a station selected and with a manufacturing line, and you have all the materials present in the station itself, and you're happy with the price and the duration, you can start a job, and it will start a job, and it will list your job under the jobs tab, including how long it's taking to complete, location, install date, end date, all that sort of stuff. And as you can tell, this one will be done in about 3 minutes. Which means that in the meantime I was going to show you research stuff, but since this blueprint is now in use, I can't show you that. And this is a copy, so I can't show you that either. Which means we're going back to the Tristan blueprint, and I'll show you with that. So if you go over to the material research and the time efficiency research, it's basically the same process as for starting a manufacturing job, except it has no input materials, it has no skill requirements. And if you just do a single run, you can do 10 runs for material efficiency. Then you can see what the result is over here. It will increase the material efficiency for your blueprint original. And as you can also see, that will take a hugely long time, because the length increases for every single level that you do. So realistically, you will probably not get a brand new blueprint to level 10 unless it's a really cheap basic one. Because around level 6 or 8 maybe, it starts to, you know, really run into the multiple numbers of weeks. Level 9 will require 15 days and level 10 will require more than a month. But yeah, if you want to research a blueprint, this is the way to do it. Just enter the percentage you want and hit start, and it will research your blueprint to the desired number. Same thing goes for time efficiency research, exactly the same way. For copying, it's also pretty simple. You just you enter the number of copies that you want to make. Say I want 50 copies of this blueprint, and you enter the number of runs that you want each copy to have. Keep in mind, of course, that the blueprint has a maximum number of runs that a copy can have, which you can find in the show info window. In this case, the Tristan can only have 30 runs per blueprint copy. So if you were to enter more, then it would default back to 30. So yeah, if you would want to make a blueprint copy 50 times with 30 runs each, it would take you almost 2 months to complete that job. And keep in mind that a job is completed as a whole. So if you want to do this, like create 50 blueprints, you'd have to wait until all 50 blueprints are done before you can deliver and use them. So keep that in mind. It might be easier to do this in smaller batches, because that really cuts down on the time. Alright, and with that, while I was explaining that, my little blueprint over here completed. It's now done. It only took 3 minutes. And if I hit deliver right now, it will deliver the manufactured ammunition to my hangar. And it will return the blueprint, of course. If this was a copy with its last run remaining, it would consume the blueprint, so you wouldn't get it back. But since this is an original, it has infinite runs, so I get the blueprint back as well to use another day. And this is the final product, the depleted uranium S ammunition that I just built. And I can load this into my guns and fire it at people's faces. So that basically concludes the gameplay tutorial for manufacturing. But there's one thing I want to mention in addition to this. If you want to, manufacturing for yourself, like building your own ship and stuff, that's all fun and games. But if you want to do this on a serious profession level, like making a profit of building stuff and selling them on the market, you really have to invest the time and do your own math and use Microsoft Excel or spreadsheets in some capacity to calculate your profit. Because the in-game tools, as good as they are at the moment, they don't give you a very accurate picture of what your stuff is worth. So if you want to mass produce ships or ammunition or items, whatever, make sure you do your math. You research the market, you see what your materials are worth, and make sure that you're selling it at a profitable price. And one thing in particular that a lot of newbies make a mistake with in this game, because they don't understand economics, is the concept of opportunity cost. And if you've been around EVE and you're on the market and maybe you've had a look into manufacturing and selling stuff before, you may have noticed that people are selling items for much less than they're actually worth. And you may be wondering, why are people selling this and still making a profit? That doesn't make any sense, right? And that's because those people don't understand the concept of opportunity cost. The concept of opportunity cost is that any item in the world, and by extension any item in EVE Online, always has a minimal value, which is determined by the highest buy order in the game, for any item out there. And a lot of people make the mistake, they go out mining, they go out mining in an asteroid belt, and they come back with a load of minerals. And because they mined those minerals themselves and they didn't have to buy them off the market, they didn't have to spend money on buying them, they think that the minerals they have gotten from their mining, adventures, that those minerals are free of charge and that they don't have to account for the value of those minerals in their production cost. And that's a really easy mistake to make, but it's also really a bad mistake to make. Because the minerals that you mine yourself are never free. There's the concept of opportunity cost, which dictates that they're worth at least as much as the highest bidder would have given you for it. So in the case of, say, tritanium is currently worth around 6-ish. So that means if you're sitting on a whole pile of tritanium that you mined yourself, that doesn't mean that suddenly the tritanium isn't worth anything anymore. Because you could always sell it at like 6-ish ISK per unit. Or in the case of the highest buy order, you could sell it for 5.50. So don't make that mistake when you're starting out with manufacturing in EVE Online. If you're going to do this on a professional level, then take the time to make a little list in Excel or anything of exactly how much your building materials cost, even if you don't have to spend any money on getting them, even if you mine everything yourself. Make a list of how much they're worth and incorporate that into the final price that you sell the item for. Otherwise, you're just losing money on yourself, on your own stupidity. And with that, I'm truly at the end of the manufacturing tutorial. I hope it helped you. I'm glad it's not as lengthy as some of the other tutorials I did in the past, but CCP did a really awesome job at revamping the industry window, so a lot of it is really self-explanatory these days. If you have any further questions about EVE or manufacturing or anything, feel free to ask them in the comments. Please like the video if you thought this tutorial was helpful for you. And if you want to try EVE Online, or you have a friend who wants to try EVE Online, there is a link to a special trial offer in the video description that you can use, which will give you an extra few days to try the game for completely free. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. See you later.